few weeks ago, I had a really good talk. A lot of people said it was a really good talk. And I recorded. I got to remember. All right, welcome everyone. Good to see you. We'll turn out here. And first, I want to see if there's any questions I can answer. Usually when there's a meditation, you ask me if life goes faster as you get older. I don't know, but a lot of times it seems like it goes slower. I have to think about what I'm going to talk about. That kind of happens fast. And what I mean by that is, what comes to me, right? What comes to me? There's so many things, and it's just that day, oh, let me talk about that. Oh, let me talk about that. And I don't know where it comes from. It's always interesting. Some of my worst talks are when I plan the most. It's funny that way, because I think too much. I think, I want to tell this. And for some reason, it's like, go by feeling. Trust your heart. Tonight, it's a little more self-defense came to mind, because I think students here, especially some new students, you don't hear it too much otherwise. And I don't mean self-defense, I mean, I do, but the training in this style, this system for developing self-defense. And really, what is different with an internal and external staff? So is there a question though, first? Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate on how practicing Bagua can maintain youth?
Oh, that's interesting because it would be answered in my talk. What was your question?
My question was specific to practice. There's sort of a rhythm to practice, and I find myself, working through a technique or something and then reflecting on it in the moment, kind of make sure that, I got it. But then I'll think, well, I lost focus on the next thing. So is it bad to spend time in the moment reflecting on, I'll give you an example. So I would enter the circle, right, in the young circle, and then just in the moment while I'm circling, think, okay, did I pick that circle right? Or did I, kind of measuring a little bit of what I just did. Does that make sense?
Are you by yourself?
Am I by myself? Sometimes I by myself, sometimes I'm just working the circle here, just down there. It was, in that moment, I would enter the circle and then reflect on it. Did were my shoulders down and give me a correction. And then I reflect, did I make a correction? Does that make, I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how most people practice.
Okay.
That's how most people do everything. You're having a conversation, it's like, did I say the right thing? Who doesn't do that, right? Put your foot in your mouth, you're kicking yourself the rest of the day.
But is it negatively affecting my practice? Should I just move on and try and just repeat enough that it just becomes natural? I guess I asked that question.
Yes. And that's usually what we think. It's like, I want a shortcut, I want some magic answer or something, but you didn't. And really that's what it is. But let me talk a little bit about some formulas, some components. Well, one of the things with letting it come naturally is the old, you've got a bunch of pearls and they're dirty, they're messed up, and you want to make a beautiful necklace. So each one has to be polished before you add it to the chain. You polish, and then you add it to the chain, and you polish, and you add it to the chain, right? Every component of your practice needs to be comfortable, needs to be mastered, needs to be legitimate. And what I mean by that is, not only do you understand it intellectually, but your body knows it well enough for it to come out naturally. When you say naturally, you know what naturally really is? Or what we like to say is a reflex, is it comes out without you having to think. As soon as you have to think, you're slower. As soon as you have to, as soon as you're thinking about it, you're in the past. What I just did is in the past. It's past tense, even in the language. So if you're sparring, well, let me back up. If you're cleaning the pearls, you're on that pearl. You're working a technique, you focus on that technique. until that's natural, then you start moving freely, or you're sparring, you have to take thinking out of it. So the way to shadowbox, so to speak, is all you do is picture like where the attack's coming from. And then you do whatever technique makes sense according to that attack. You don't think of your technique. You would think of the attack coming in. Something low, something high, and then you respond with what? Probably what you're most comfortable with. That has to come out spontaneously. And spontaneous practice is essential for this to ever become real. Because frankly, Chinese martial arts are being laughed at because people don't make it real. They just memorize countless techniques and it becomes more of a distraction and a busyness than an actual absorption of something useful, something practical. I mean, Bagua saved lives when it was being used when it came out in the 1800s. It was battlefield, it was life and death, it was, you know, you're up against weapons, whatever, and there's multiple opponents. So how was it effective? Because they practiced like it was real. But in fairness, they had a lot of time on their hands, right? So people today don't have a lot of time on their hands. So what may have taken 5 years might take you 25. And in my personal opinion, I don't care how long it takes. I just practice because there's so many benefits along with it, right? So, repeat your question.
How does practicing Bagua maintain?
Oh, youthfulness. All right, so all martial arts have attack and defense. Yeah. Attacks can be hands, fists, elbows, shoulders, kicks, throws, joint blocks, attacks. Defenses is reacting to those things. How do you respond to those attacks, right? Any martial art has attack and defense. Then you think about what's different with something like what we're doing. We take more into account, let's say, how many parts of the body we're moving. So all the different joints, right? And let's say, this is going to throw some people off. Qi. What is qi? In this context, qi is proper function. The focus on what you're doing, moving the body circulation, the energy, not in a mystical way, but literally, for me to feel this hand, I have to focus there a moment. I have to put my mind there. Well, how the heck does my brain talk to this? Nervous system, and then blood flows feeding that so it works. So there is actual energy, there is bioelectricity that moves there for this to function. You know, something my teacher would always say is, if you're standing there talking like this and someone puts 10 pounds in your hand, you drop it because you didn't expect it. You're not focused there. There was no energy there. But 10 pounds, anybody can hold. So they put 10 pounds, you look at it, no problem, because you put energy. So the lack of focus completely changes the result. So that versus this is one of the most fundamental differences between an internal style and any martial art. You know, karate, judo, things that are really physically focused. Boxing, whatever, versus in addition to, now what do I mean by that? So think about for a moment what I mean by the joints. Anything I want to do involves a joint, right? I want to move, a joint has to be involved. Very simple, right? I already said where my mind focus energy goes, right? So now you take a form and there's punches and kicks and all these different techniques in the form. But the internal can practice it different ways, not just for self-defense. How to effectively move with focus so that circulation increases. What is the foundation of health in the body? Optimal blood flow through all the vessels in the body, reaching the microscopic capillaries in every cell. See, every cell has to breathe. needs oxygen. Every cell has to eat, needs nutrients. And every cell basically has to, like we do, go to the bathroom. It has to eliminate waste from its metabolism. If any of that doesn't happen, you get sick and you age. And the sickness could just be locally something in a part of your liver or something. And maybe over many years, it becomes a tumor or cancer. Degeneration comes from, or aging, comes from this lack of proper circulation to every cell. And so the parts of your body that are breaking down and aging faster are the ones that are not getting chi and blood. Movement increases circulation. Chi is also oxygen and nutrients. So when you're doing things just for self-defense, you're getting circulation just like any exercise. But when you do it with a focus on moving the body, moving the circulation, enhancing the feeling, enhancing the control, this is what's considered internal. So when you ask about aging, how does Bagua, obviously there's many different things that can help you slow down aging, but that's one of Bagua's, I don't know, it better affects the body than most things because of that concept, because of that principle. Move it or lose it. Anybody work in an office in a chair sitting a lot? You know how you're working for hours, you get really involved, and what happens when you get up? A little stiff. So driving here took about, I don't know, 9.5 hours. And I didn't even stop. I stopped, got gas, kept going. I really made a fast trip this time. But if I stop for gas, it's pumping gas, I do exercise. You know, I'll do some squatting. I'll do some maybe 10 squats, twisting, right? Circles. Maybe open up like this because I'm driving like this. I'll open up like this. This is all Bagua. That's this. Move the parts that haven't been moving and bring circulation that are basically lacking circulation. Because, you know, there's parts that get numb from the seat I'm in and they're not moving much. And if you're smart, you use it, you have cruise control and make adjustments and change the body. It just sits still. It's worse. So imagine the neighborhood. They can't bring food to the neighborhood. They can't bring, or the air is all dirty. How's everybody going to feel? You know, overpollution, not enough food, you know, all garbage everywhere, right? Toxic fumes from the garbage. Nobody's picking up the garbage. Imagine things fell apart. Well, that's what happens in our bodies. We have to do maintenance just like that. Just like you need the trucks to come in with the food, we need to eat the foods that bring us nutrients. Just like the garbage truck has to pick up the garbage, we have to have good circulation to keep the garbage moving out through the lymph, through the blood, and eliminate it properly. Breathing. Let me review that real quick, because people forget. So the lungs are kind of like, there's like 5 sections, right? There's 2 here because the heart's in here. Most people breathe here. And this area here will shrink. It will degenerate. It will get old faster. We have a pandemic based on a respiratory illness, yes? It was worse, especially where it started, in the most polluted cities. Did you know that? Early on. Then they shut everybody down and a lot of it cleared. But the normal processes, factories, everything running, it was pollution. And then people don't breathe right. So now you have that garbage building up all in the lungs and you don't even have this area moving much. So all these people have very weak degenerative lungs, older than the person's actual age. They're aging. Now you're primed for a virus that could attack them. And this is true for anywhere in the body. You have a problem like that in the liver, you'll end up with things like cirrhosis at the most serious levels. A shoulder. You have a little something wrong with the shoulder, you ignore it, you maybe don't move it right, it starts lacking circulation. Many years ago in college, I did some work in physical therapy, and I remember the worst things you see were this frozen shoulder. A frozen shoulder can be the most painful rehab because somebody reaches for something in a cabinet and gets a tweak, and then go another tweak, and then over time they stop reaching for anything and they always maybe use the other hand. So the brain literally stops sending energy to that shoulder, and that shoulder will literally dry up, lock up, be degenerative. It's damaged. It's not getting chi and blood flow. See? Use it or lose it. Lack of blood flow. Use it or lose it. It starts to degenerate. Now, as a physical therapist, you have to really tear it apart. And you would put belts in people's mouths and their wallets and just bite that on this. Well, we literally would have to pull it apart because it all seized together. Well, that happens on smaller levels all over our bodies if you're not using it properly. That's why I have very specific things when I'm driving a long way and sitting for a long time. And anybody working in an office can have those same basic exercises. It's getting the joints to move so chi and blood can move to those parts and keep it fresh. This way, after that long drive, I got here, I was as fresh as could be. Many years ago, I took a 3,500-mile ride on a motorcycle. And I was exercising while riding. Yeah, because yin and yang, tension and relaxation. So without even moving, I might squeeze here, press my feet into the pegs, or pull on my bars, pull and relax, or push and relax. And I'm not trying to do like a isometric exercise to make the muscles, like a fitness thing. It was just blood flow. Because there was one day, 14 hours, just continuous riding. But I'd always get off and be pretty fresh. So you think it's a form or a special qigong or whatever you learn in class in Bagua. No, remember this. Bagua is the principles. Bagua is the principles. That's why other martial artists I know, like Sifu Brown in Detroit, he makes fun of me because everything's Bagua. I'll see him respond to something, teaching something in class. I'm like, I didn't know you knew Bagua. He knows a very different style, but it's very similar to Bagua because of the way he uses the principles. Bagua principles makes everything better, whether it's fighting or health, relationships, work. Because these principles are Taoist principles. It's like closer to nature and what works naturally. What works naturally, meaning there's going to be less resistance to it. It's not going to be as hard to convince because it works naturally. It's like somebody saying the right thing, you feel better. Somebody says the wrong thing, you feel worse. Someone else shouldn't have control of your feelings like that, but they tend to, right? You're making me mad. Do you have to get mad? Who's in control of you? But they do, right? You can get mad because of the way somebody else treated you. This is all yin and yang interacting. This is all Bagua. And that's why, personally, one, Bagua I see in everything. And two, I'm never bored with the art because if I'm doing the physical art, there's so much to it. There's so much to it. And once that real foundation set where you have all the punches, kicks, stances, all the movements, and you just practice freely, if you practice freely too soon, it becomes very sloppy. You have to have the right development, and then you do everything properly, okay? All right, that reminds me. Let me get to what came to me earlier. I wanted to talk about. So we have the formula: hand, body, step. First of all, we would call this a trinity, no different than in the Christian Trinity, the concept that it's all one. It's not three different things. It's three aspects of one. They all have to come together. If you're doing proper Bagua, the hand, the body, and the step all work together, which is what I was showing you guys earlier. When I arrive, you're already attacked. I don't arrive and then try to fight with you. If I'm there, you should be done. My attack needs to be overwhelming so you don't have much of a chance. If not, it's not good Bagua. This is not just fighting. I'm talking principle. It's not good Bagua if you didn't do it that way. If these three aren't working together, okay? Then what? Distance, and we say degree or angle, meaning, well, we would use an example like this. Some styles, hands are up, and an attack comes here, and you do 180 degrees to block it. Anybody ever do any other martial arts that did that?
We'll do.
Yeah, block like this, right? So all the way around to get here. All the way around to get here. As opposed to that. You see that? That's Bagua. Much more efficient. This is my garage door. You want to get in and steal something. Close the door. That's it. Very simple. Why do I have to go all the way around to here? So this is using the right angle to make it the shortest distance. And that's why these really work together. These work together to make you faster. Because another example, what's the fastest 100 meters ever run? Still around 9 seconds, 8, 9, something like that, right? I don't know exactly. Who knows the Olympic record?
964.
964? Nobody got to 9 yet, under? Wow. 964. How can I do it in 5 seconds? How do I get here in 5 seconds? Start here. Yeah. So this also works with age. The older person is not going to be faster than the younger person. Somebody is training, they can be very fast. And Bagua can make you very, very fast because it teaches you how to relax. But let's just talk in general, older person, younger person. If the older person understands distance and angles, they're going to be faster by efficiency, not by muscular speed. Because of things like this and things like this. They start here, I start here. You know, it's funny, this reminded me when I used to train in the park years ago, I had this dog who was like a part lab, and we would do this all the time. He would never leave. He'd just wander around this park by himself, all over the place. And then I would just start running, and I would try to beat him to the gate. And he would always beat me. He would see me from wherever he is, and you just like see him right by me. So he was so much faster than me. So I was just like, oh, I'm gonna get him this time. And I was actually fast for a human. And he's so funny. I mean, if we start in the same place, forget about it, right? It's the same like the Olympic champ. So efficiency with moving. Then power. And this power is related to this one. What I said earlier. What do I mean? So people think when you practice something like Tai Chi, everybody heard of Tai Chi? No, slow. This is what Tai Chi. Bagua Qigong is like that. But Bagua Qigong is the slow side of the martial art. The Tai Chi that people know and exercise like that is the same in Tai Chi. Most people don't know real Tai Chi. That's just the slow side of Tai Chi. That's why I said internal style, not just Bagua. And there's other internal styles. Bagua, Xingyi, Tai Chi, Ryo Bafa. There's some internal styles. Some say Hongbei. There's some other, but the idea of internal is what I meant by that kind of focus, moving slowly to master how the body moves. So then your power is not just from hitting harder, it's from getting more of the body perfectly aligned to what you're trying to do. And you become more and more powerful, coming back to this being one. So by getting the body more supple, this kind of suppleness is a whip-like motion. You have a whip. And total body is Bagua. Bagua Zhang, Zhang means palm. Whole body palm. Think like that. The whole body, all at the same time, right there. Everything, not just this. Everything. My whole body just hit that right here. And even because of how I practice, I felt something interesting. It's just, that's the thing you want to look for. There's a certain looseness that comes naturally, and you feel it come almost like it pulls you. So even just showing you, it happens. So that's what, you practice enough, things like that happen. We talk about chi, literally chi and blood, all intention went there. Because I'm just thinking to strike with it. It's physics, it's natural, it's nothing boo-boo. When we say chi, chi is oxygen and nutrients, food and air. Chi is also the function of things, how they work properly. And that's why qigong, how to make the body work perfectly. So if I want to make good power, how do I make the body work perfectly together to make that happen? So this is a 7-point formula. What's missing? I can't fit it. The mind, the focus, concentration, you have to have your intention there. Without that, which now is your question. Isn't it? Really? Because it's all covered in the end with these kind of formulas, because it gives you, where am I lacking? I recently recommended to someone, I don't remember who, I don't think it was somebody here. Who saw The Last Samurai? Tom Cruise was the, right? Yeah, long time ago, right? Oh, you were the one I was telling?
You recommended it to Douglas. Yeah.
Oh, right. Did you watch it?
I don't know, we have it, I actually own the movie.
You should watch it again, because now you'll appreciate it more. It's a well-written movie. You know, whether you like the actor or not, it's a well-written movie, because it does catch, sorry?
I've seen it.
Yeah, so you know they talk about Mushin. And that's why, you know, he's like freaking out, and they say, too many mind, too many mind. Okay, so two things. One, you have to have absolute focus on what you're doing. So if I'm pushing this hand, my whole body pushing that hand, my mind has nothing else there but that. Okay. Okay, exactly like meditation. Meditation first has to have a focal point. You have to be able to put your mind on what you choose and not be distracted by these other extraneous thoughts. And it's very difficult. So that's why when we go to meditation, you'll hear me say, if the mind wanders, bring it back to your focal point. Wanders again, bring it back. That's it. That is the practice. Don't judge yourself. Passive attitude. People quit. And I can't meditate. You know, how do you stop these thoughts? You don't stop the thoughts. You focus your mind on the thing you chose. It could be the breath. It could be something you're visualizing. It could be a beautiful flower. And it is better to think of something alive. Excuse me. It's better to think of something alive, and that makes you feel happy. Because there is, whether it's imagined or real, no difference. Placebo, I don't care. There's a feeling of life in something that's alive, as opposed to the Lamborghini I want to drive someday. You know, it's not. It doesn't even have the same reward. It's like, oh, how people with millions of dollars that have a Lamborghini, is that all they have? No, they have like a garage full of cars because they get bored. It's like never enough. The flower can be enough because it brings something that other things don't. So first, focus. Then what? Let it go. Become pure awareness. This is real meditation. Focal point is low-level meditation. It's meditation, especially when you start to really get there. But what happens when you really get there is the letting go happens by itself. Almost like falling asleep, but not. because you're completely aware. So, well, what happens when you let go, then the mind can start wandering again. So that's why you got to bring it back. So now your physical practice is the focal point. Your body is the focal point. The form, the technique, whatever is the focal point until you can let go and let it go by itself. The old masters would say, let the chi move you. Yeah, because if you've practiced enough to get it into your central nervous system, the body will know what to do naturally. Your response will be ahead of your thinking. It's very real. And that's how you can gauge if you really have a reflex. There's no faking this stuff. You can, I know what, no. Because when something unexpected happens, how do you respond? I know myself, you have to know yourself. You know exactly. I mean, I literally took a bee out of the air one time. I don't even know what happened. Something, I must have heard the buzz or something, because I was practicing a lot of elbows at the time. You know, and I just went, and I saw, I didn't even know a bee was coming. It was so funny. So things like that happen. Many years ago, I was working in a UPS. This is one of the, like a college job. And it was a tool level thing, and it had a big flap that was on a spring. And many people would work on the bottom, and sometimes a broken truck would slap them in the head. One guy got carried out, he was knocked out. And so one time I was down there, and again, I don't even know what happened, but next thing I know, I was blocking that darn thing. The moment it released, my body went there, and I didn't know what happened until I caught the darn thing. I was like, oh, pretty cool. You know, you start realizing that the practice naturally has that kind of reaction in the body. And I've had many students over the years tell me, yeah, it's like a jar falls off the table or out of the cabinet, I just catch it. And they don't know how they got that skill because they weren't practicing doing that. Your awareness naturally expands. If you're serious about your practice, it will reward you. At times you'll be very surprised. And if I was going to bring up real self-defense, the number one, I know Kiana knows, the number one aspect, component of self-defense, real self-defense, is not how hard you can punch, kick, or block, or throw, or block, or move. It's literally awareness. Because studies have been done where in prisons, they show videos. And if I remember correctly, like 98% of the criminals in the study, 98% of the time picked the same people that they would choose to be a victim. And then they listed all the components. It's a science to them. They want to pick someone who's easy. They're half asleep, really. They walk around, I used to say, with a bag over your head. You're not really paying attention. You're distracted. It's no different than if you're watching the Discovery Channel and the lion's attacking the weak, the slower one, the smaller one, so they can eat. All the other ones run away and they get the one that they can catch. They catch the weaker one. So it's just like that in the real world. So just practicing properly and carrying yourself gracefully and with awareness, nobody's going to bother you. Then if you're in a confrontation with somebody, arguing, your center and awareness of ego and respect will save you. In my experience, all the time. I'm sure there's going to be that couple percent where the person doesn't care, he just wants to attack anyway because he's mad at the world. In my experience around the worst people, it's just, you naturally show respect because when you look in someone's eyes, you see the divine. This is real. You see that we're all connected. Their life is like your life. And just because they're acting terribly right now, doesn't mean you have to respond to it in a negative way. You have compassion, you understand that the pain in their life is making them act this way. They don't know any better. And the last thing you want to do is hurt someone. So if you had a gun, would you pull it out just because somebody got you mad? Only crazy people do that. You pull it out to save your life. That's it. So fighting should be like that. And so Bagua works like that too, because of the concepts, the philosophies, to bring peace into the world. Be peaceful, spread peace naturally just by being that way. People run by ego make problems. That's why so many problems I see in today's world is just all made up stuff, and I honestly believe it's not by accident. Very smart people understand psychology. They want to create these things to divide us. Men and women, black and white, young and old, gay and straight, you name it, right? Everybody, us against them, us against them, us against them. This is ridiculous. It's so sad. We all want to live happy. Why can't we help and support each other? So that stuff is not by accident, because there's very smart people who want people divided so that they can't focus on creating and helping each other. They focus more. When you have that division, when you look at people like an enemy, you have hate, you get smaller and more separate from them. When you look in someone's eyes and automatically see yourself, not the person you are, the character, you see another being of the divine. When you look, it's a feeling. It's an automatic connection. How can you wish harm to them? How can you be divided? Automatically you help each other. And in reality, if you're paying attention, you'll see any kind of real trauma, real tragedy. I remember years ago, Katrina, everybody helping everybody. Nobody's, I'm not helping you because you're Muslim, or something stupid like that. They help each other because they understand, oh my God, you could die, you could drown, they do whatever they can. So all this superficial division is destroying our ability to relax and create. Because when we relax and create, we can literally make a very peaceful world. Well, maybe some people don't want it that way. So Bagua does that. Yeah, what's that got to do with Bagua? Because it's natural, it's from the philosophy, it's from understanding oneness. What is oneness? Everything in this world is connected and related. Everything's supported, everything's in rhythm. You eliminate something, other things suffer right away. Think about that. You take away, that's why too many deer, right? Hunters understand too many deer. Why are there too many deer? Well, we took out all the wolves and mountain lions, right? The predators that would keep all that even. Rabbits, same thing. They'll multiply like crazy. If there's no predators to take them out. Because we were afraid of the predators, so we killed all of them. And now the prey animals there's too many. So that's Hunter's argument, right? It's like, well, there's too many. They're just going to get killed by cars anyway, and this is true. Right? This way, the Tao is more like keeping everything in balance naturally. And this is very much about that. Your practice is in balance naturally. What part are you lacking? Now, one more thing, expanding on this, because we got to get to meditation. The hand has attack and defense. The body has attack and defense. The step has attack and defense. Even these, but let's just focus on this. Now, all the same, but we like threes. Bagua likes threes to complete. What component makes them different for each one? What three things have to be unified? Sorry? Intention? No, intention, something separate. Intention is going to be what you put there when you know that's a component. You're missing that, you know how to add that, your focus goes there. You don't have power, your focus goes there, right? Yeah. That's why you have to have focus in the equation. So attack and defense. What do you think? Okay. So your attack and defense does have to have power. How you issue. Without power, it's useless, right? So the hand needs to have power. What does the step have to have? Main thing.
Direct
Not a bad answer. Anybody else?
coordination.
Speed. Without quick footwork, you can't get where you need to go. You can't defend or attack. You certainly can't do it together. You just be hands. Which is why when you jump at somebody, they do it just the hands. Very rarely will you see the feet move. And that's again specialty for Bagua. That's the Bagua Zhang style. Moving your place in space. Change the situation based on where the power is coming from, the energy is coming from. What would the body be?
Posture, coordination.
Posture, very good. Structure. Yeah, proper posture. So if I'm practicing wrong over time, not only will I not have good power, I won't have good coordination. I can injure myself. If you're issuing power, you're doing martial arts, everything wrong, you break down the parts of the body that you're doing wrong. If you're moving wrong. That's why I get on you so much with the circle walking. Because no matter your problem, if you have the problem, you're going to make it worse by doing things wrong. If your shoulder's like this when you move, and I test this with my patients, they have a shoulder problem. So I'll toss a pen at them. I say, oh, could you pick that up for me? And they go to reach, and right away I see, does it start from here or does it start from here? Because if it starts from here, they have a very poor mechanical, their biomechanics, the way they move is wrong. And every time they do something, they're hurting their shoulder, they don't know it. It's microscopic, that added up thousands and thousands of times. Eventually they need a replacement for the shoulder probably, for example, because they're constantly inflaming it and degenerating it, and eventually it's done for. That can happen in your spine. That can happen with your spine, especially with a whipping power, because you have to understand what part of the body is supposed to make the power and what part of the body is supposed to be structurally sound for it to work off of. Think of a flagpole. The pole stable and the flag waves in the wind, right? Take away the pole. Where's the flag end up? In the garbage, basically, on the ground. It needs a place to be doing this wave, right? The body is the same. You have to have a stable place for the whip to come out from. You don't have this stable place, not only will you be lacking real power, you will also be damaging the part that's moving that's not supposed to be moving. Without the stable part, and lower back is that place. You start it and it solidifies, and the rest of the body continues the power. If this is part of the continuous whipping, it's like throwing a flag on the ground, or the more power you generate goes there. And you do that enough times. There were studies done with pig spines, because the pig spine is very much like a human spine. And they tested how many times can you basically do this. Now, what is this? This is exactly what happens when you do a sit-up. You know how you curl up like this? People curl up off the ground, right? You keep curling the back. Yes? Everybody, somebody hold your feet. Yeah? So, no problem. Many years, hundreds of times, people want their abs, and eventually it gives out. In other words, you can only do so many before it just blows up. You are constantly working something that was never meant to move like that. That's why the proper way to sit up is to keep the lower back stiff and move from the hips. So, quick lesson on that. You don't curl your back. Those curls, even these little curls like this, nope. Do it enough times. And we have a student here, Shapiro. Yeah, it happened to him. He used to do hundreds and hundreds, make this nice and tight. And then one day he said he did maybe 10 or something, and it was like something gave. He ruptured his disc, and it never healed properly. He lost it. And then he lost the signal, when we talk about the chi, the signal to this muscle. So you know how people get sciatica? Same thing. The sciatic nerve, right? Goes down. If you have a problem here, it'll go into your hip, your groin, anywhere in your leg it can go, depending where the problem is here. Because every branch of that nerve has the connecting places. It could be your toe. So his was this muscle. So I haven't seen him in a while, but if you saw him in shorts, one leg is good and one leg looks like half a calf, like he had it cut off. It's not there because the brain connection to that muscle was completely severed. You know, kind of like people break their neck, become quadriplegic. His was just very specific. That little branch cut the circulation. So now the brain doesn't know how to send any energy there, no chi, no blood, you know what I mean? Oxygen, nutrients, the things I said earlier. And it just atrophied and basically disappeared, just like this. It's dying in his body. How crazy is that? So the opposite of that is we have to know how to move all parts of our body to make good chi and blood circulation to every part of the body. And that again is the answer, keeping you young. Okay, so the hand, you need to be able to make power, whether you're defending or attacking. Somebody rushes you, this is too weak. I mean, that's structure too, but it needs power from the structure out to here. No structure, your body collapses. Somebody can rush you and you have no power. And speed, you don't move, easy to get run over. So this is an essential formula for self-defense, but automatically the health side is enhanced because of this part. Remember, the difference with the Qigong, the internal style, with just the physical self-defense style, is moving slow with a focus on these things as you move slow. So then when you move fast, it needs to connect. The same understanding has to go into your power. When you're clear about what to do, how to practice, you're never bored with practice. Because everything we do ultimately is a meditation. It's training your mind to be able to go to one place. So once you learn meditation properly, and once you know how to take that into a thought, the same control, the same strength of a focal point. Okay, do I want to think a good thought? Feel good? Or do I want to think a bad thought and feel bad? I think everybody will have the same answer. Let's go to meditation.